Abby. Abby. Help us.
We're never gonna be able to move forward until you deal with some of the mess you left in your head.
Are you ever gonna go back? To Freddy's, I mean?
Some little girl got murdered here.
Where are you gonna run to? I'm not done with you.
Showtime!
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the kind of sequel that reminds you why this franchise is so hard to adapt and why the first film was lightning in a bottle. The 2023 movie wasn't perfect, but it understood the emotional spine of the concept, gave the audience a sympathetic anchor in Mike and Abby, and created a story that could function even if you didn't know the lore. It found a workable balance between horror and fan service without letting either completely hijack the movie. That balancing act matters because the games are beloved for a reason. The original Five Nights at Freddy's isn't just spooky robots in a pizza joint, it's a minimalist survival horror. You're a night security guard trapped behind flimsy doors and limited power, forced to monitor cameras and anticipate the movements of animatronics that are possessed, avatars of something violent and unresolved. The fear isn't only the jump scares, it's the helpless routine, the creeping sense that the building is a tomb dressed up for children, and the slow drip of lore hinting at murdered kids, a corrupted legacy, and a corporate machine that kept the lights on long after decency should have pulled the plug. That mix of tight gameplay tension and intriguing backstory is why the series became a phenomenon.
All of those little souls in one place. Just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
The first film worked as well as it did because it treated the concept as a story about grief, horror, and childhood vulnerability, not just a parade of animatronics. Mike Schmidt takes the night guard job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to maintain custody of his sister Abby, while his unresolved trauma over his brother Garrett's kidnapping keeps bleeding into his life. The movie smartly used Mike's dream investigation angle to turn the franchise's backstory into an emotional engine, then folds the haunted lore into a clear, character-led conflict. Abby's bond with the animatronics, Vanessa's buried connection to William Afton, and the reveal that the mascots are possessed by murdered children. It's horror filtered through family stakes, which is why the film landed with general audiences while also playing to the fan base. That clarity is a big part of why it became such a commercial beast. With a budget of 20 to 30 million, it raked in over 291 million worldwide.
I was just thinking about my friends. Can we visit them sometime?
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 picks up a year after the chaos at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with the town turning the incident into a local legend and even celebrating it through a new event called Fazfest. Mike and Vanessa are trying to build a relationship while keeping the danger buried from Mike's sister Abby, who still feels attached to her animatronic friends. Unfortunately, Abby's attempt to reconnect with them reopens wounds that the adults hope to lock away forever, dragging them all back toward violence, buried secrets, and the creeping sense that the Fazbear nightmare wasn't ended, just paused. Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we're exploring the entire timeline and mechanics of the games before breaking down the story, characters, Easter eggs, and ending in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification icon to stay up to date on all the latest content here, and click the like button to help appease the algorithm gods. Also, if you'd like to make a suggestion on what you want me to cover next, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below.
The bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
At first glance, Five Nights at Freddy's might seem like a cheap jump scare simulator, riding on YouTube's shock reactions and internet creepypasta tropes. But underneath its minimalist point-and-click surface lies a tangled, intricate, and obsessively analyzed horror universe. Created by independent developer Scott Cawthon and launched in 2014, FNAF grew from a viral indie title into a sprawling franchise comprising multiple sequels, prequels, and novels. Its genius lay not in graphical fidelity, but in the steady unraveling of a mythos, one that hides mass murder, possession, corporate malfeasance, and tragic childhood trauma behind the bright facade of pizza party mascots. To fully understand FNAF is to enter a world where lore is king, timelines twist into knots, and every flicker of a camera or scrap of newspaper clipping might be the missing piece to a massive puzzle. The central setting is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and its earlier, smaller offshoots in the same entertainment lineage places that function like a twisted mirror of real-world family venues such as Chuck E. Cheese. Each title is built around a simple premise. Survive your night while hostile animatronics stalk the building. The original game locked the player inside a security office with 2 doors, a limited power supply, and access to CCTV cameras. You couldn't move from your spot, you couldn't fight back, you could only observe and react, closing doors, switching lights, and praying that Freddy or Bonnie weren't already breathing down your neck. This minimalist setup turned passive observation into a pressure cooker. Every second mattered. Waste power and you'd be defenseless. Let your nerves fray and you'd forget to check the right hallway. Unlike horror games that leaned on mobility or weaponry, FNAF weaponized anxiety. The later games expanded on this with new mechanics. FNAF 2 removed doors but added a Freddy mask and music box. FNAF 3 introduced audio lures and ventilation systems. Sister Location broke the formula entirely with movement, voice commands, and minigames. But the real appeal was not just gameplay, it was what the gameplay revealed. Every title layered in obscure minigames, glitchy hallucinations, and background lore fragments. We got hidden text, rare character appearances, and cryptic dialogue. Together, these formed an unofficial metagame where fans pieced together the narrative from the corners of the screen.
You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped.
What made it explode into a cultural obsession, though, is that the games are not really about robots malfunctioning. They're about a cheerful children's brand that got contaminated by murder, tried to cover it up, and built an ecosystem where grief, guilt, and corporate denial became monsters. The franchise tells this story out of order and in fragments, but once you know the shape of the puzzle, the overall picture is coherent. A violent past infects a commercial empire, the dead refuse to stay quiet, and every attempted upgrade by the company doesn't fix the curse so much as expand it. The interesting thing about Fazbear Entertainment is that the company's origin story is already suspicious before William Afton and Henry Emily even get their hands on the steering wheel. The earliest breadcrumb we have is in 1970, thanks to a Full Fest poster that confirms the company existed well before Afton and Emily turned children's entertainment into an unsolved crime anthology. The mascots shown here aren't the polished faces of future Freddy iconography. They're older, stranger, more folk horror than family-friendly, and they're worn by humans as part of an autumn carnival act. That act becomes popular enough until the company expands into a proper venue, until the carnival burns down. In 1973, we get the 2 men who will define the franchise. William Afton and Henry Emily open Fredbear's Family Diner as business partners, and their roles split with perfect narrative irony. Henry is the engineer, the heart, the brain, the inventor who introduces spring-lock technology, animatronic suits designed to be worn by humans, with mechanisms that can be opened up so a performer can climb inside and control the character. William is the businessman, the smooth operator who handles the customer-facing side. The diner focuses on Fredbear and Bonnie performing musical numbers, and everything appears wholesome on the surface.
So we did some digging to learn more about that bothersome endoskeleton that keeps relentlessly pursuing you. From what we can tell, it was designed to keep Murray's son entertained while Murray worked. It would mimic the actions of those around it. At some point, the endoskeleton was exposed to some sort of violence, the details of which are a little fuzzy. This mimic endoskeleton then copied that violent behavior.
Between 1975 and 1980, the story expands beyond William and Henry with Edwin Murray's creation of Mimic 1, a domestic AI built to look after Edwin's son David, coded initially to copy Edwin's toy. The intention is gentle, almost heartfelt, until the universe swerves into tragedy. David is killed by a van, and Edwin's grief turns into rage. He unleashes that on Mimic 1, teaching it violence by abuse, sculpting cruelty into its learning process. Thus, the Mimic becomes a machine educated in suffering rather than ethics. When it's left inside an abandoned factory, a team attaches legs to the endoskeleton and pays for that decision with their lives. Then the Mimic deactivates and disappears for decades. By 1983, Fazbear Entertainment begins to look like the version we recognize today. With Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opening, Fredbear and Bonnie are remade and joined by Chica and Foxy, mostly stationary stage performers built to deliver bright, cheerful songs in a safe-looking, consumer-friendly format. But William and Henry are now juggling 2 restaurants, and the cost of their ambition becomes personal. They're so consumed by the business that they're not present for their families. Henry's response to this absence is protective. He builds the Marionette, later known as the puppet in FNAF 2, as a security guardian designed specifically to watch over his daughter Charlotte. What Henry couldn't predict was that his own business partner William would kill his only child. The Marionette is coded to prioritize Charlotte's safety inside the building, but it's rendered useless when she's locked outside the pizzeria. After her death, the Marionette found Charlotte's body dumped in a nearby alleyway and broke down from water damage. The franchise then performs its first major metaphysical pivot, with Charlotte's soul latching onto its body. The puppet's face becomes permanently marked with tears, and it's moved into storage, unable to fulfill its original function. This is a cornerstone event that transforms Charlotte into a figure of future influence, the child who will later guide others through the horrific mechanics of eternal mechanical survival. Then the Afton family implodes. William and Henry continue their obsession with their work, and William leaves his eldest son Michael to look after his youngest Stefan. But Michael is cruel, terrifying his brother relentlessly, helping cement the youngest identity as the crying child, who finds comfort in an imaginary friendship with a Fredbear plushie. The boy's fear of the pizzeria isn't just childhood nerves. He's seen William help an employee into Golden Fredbear's suit and interpreted it as proof that the animatronics are alive in a way that fractures his sense of safety. Despite the crying child's fear, his birthday is held at the diner. Michael and his friends decide to prank him by lifting him toward Fredbear's mouth, holding him inside the animatronic's jaws. They don't anticipate the mechanism locking into place, but it does, and the mouth snaps shut, killing Afton. Michael becomes guilt-ridden, and the diner shuts down shortly after. The guilt doesn't leave Michael, it mutates into nightmares. He suffers visions of monstrous animatronics that resemble the images his brother feared. It's not officially confirmed who the protagonist of FNAF 4 is, but the evidence points to Michael, with the crying child's story preserved in the minigames. Whether this means William was punishing and testing his son, or whether this is simply trauma playing out depends on interpretation. Either answer reinforces FNAF's core themes. In this world, the line between supernatural horror and human cruelty is not a line at all, it's a blur. In 1984, William crosses the point of no return. Realizing the Marionette is possessed by Charlotte's ghost, he develops a dark craving to replicate the phenomenon. He opens Circus Baby's Pizza World, a standalone venue disguised as child-friendly fun, but constructed with sinister intent in mind. The new animatronics, Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy are technologically different from the older musical animal models. These aren't suits for humans to wear, they're systems engineered to interact, lure, and capture. Circus Baby is the clearest embodiment of William's plan, featuring a large compartment in her stomach under the pretense of dispensing ice cream. But that feature is a weapon and a means to kidnap children. This backfires when William's daughter Elizabeth becomes attached to Circus Baby, despite being forbidden from engaging with her. The animatronics' luring and tracking systems do what they were designed to do. She invites Elizabeth over when she's alone and curious. Elizabeth approaches and is killed instantly. This happens on the restaurant's opening day, triggering immediate closure. It's also revealed that William already has underground facilities, likely the precursor to Sister Location, built to experiment on children and potentially on Michael, using his nightmare variants. With Elizabeth's soul now possessing Circus Baby, William doesn't recoil in horror at what he's unleashed. He sees a blueprint. By 1985, William has 2 confirmed cases of possession, Charlotte in the Marionette and Elizabeth in Circus Baby, and chooses to escalate. The missing children incident unfolds when he returns to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, wearing the spring bodysuit from the diner era, and lures 5 children out back to kill them. He puts Susie, Fritz, Gabriel, and Jeremy into the animatronics Chica, Foxy, Freddy, and Bonnie. Golden Freddy, sitting unused after the diner's closure, becomes a unique stage for Cassidy's death. The internal spring lock mechanism closes on her, bleeding her out slowly. With Charlotte's help, the murdered children possess the animatronics. The pizzeria becomes a place that carries death under its bright stage lights. The smell, the mounting parental fear, and the accumulating suspicion force another closure. Fazbear Entertainment is now trapped in its own loop. Build, entertain, kill, deny, close, rename, reopen.
It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity of this creature, this monster that I unwillingly helped to create. As if what he had already done wasn't enough, he found a new way to desecrate, to humiliate, to destroy. As if the suffering wasn't enough, the loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable.
In 1987, the company tries again. The reopened pizzeria houses new toy animatronics alongside the withered models slated for storage, with Henry's updated facial recognition tech designed to prove the brand is safe. Instead, the machines become hostile toward adults. Parts from the older models and the lingering influence of the missing children incident spirits bleed into the new line. William works a day shift while Jeremy Fitzgerald covers nights. The spring Bonnie suit goes missing because William commits 5 more murders. The pizzeria closes immediately, but Jeremy still shows up, unaware of the newest catastrophe. The next morning, he's assigned to a daytime birthday event and becomes the victim of the bite of 87, losing his frontal lobe to an animatronic. The pizzeria survives for only 3 weeks before collapsing again. William then drags Michael deeper into the mess by having him replace him at the now closed location under the alias Fritz Smith. But Michael tampers with the animatronics and is fired after a single shift for that and his unpleasant odor. A detail that reads like a grim foreshadowing of how deeply his own body will be entwined with his father's rot. With the diner and pizzeria both tainted, William opens Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, shifting the Funtime animatronics into his underground facility. This isn't a venue for birthday parties, it's a rental operation by day and a testing chamber by night, where shock therapy and child abduction are folded into the business model.
Now that being said, no new system is without its kinks. You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week, but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right? Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seem to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office. Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on.
By 1993, the franchise finally stages William's deserved downfall. Fazbear Entertainment attempts one last reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but the public trust is gone. The original Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy roam the building at night as William lures the children's souls and melts their endoskeletons to create Remnant, attempting to bottle immortality out of murder. He returns to recover the spring Bonnie suit he used as his signature disguise, but this time the children fight back. In desperation, William steps inside the suit, but the spring locks activate and he dies slowly, in a grim mirror of Cassidy's own excruciating end, but even as he dies, he believes he'll haunt the suit. The spring Bonnie suit remains hidden in a back room. The toy animatronics injected with Remnant remain underground, while the rental business continues to operate in the dark.
I've been out before, but they always put me back. They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here. There is nowhere to go when we look like this. But if we looked like you, then we could hide. If we looked like you, then we would have somewhere to go. The scooper only hurts for a moment.
In 2000, Michael attempts to navigate this labyrinth with a mix of guilt, obligation, and whatever tragic heroism FNAF allows its characters. He ventures into Sister Location and is tricked by Ennard, an amalgamation of William's victims. Realizing Elizabeth is trapped inside Circus Baby, he's lured into the scoop room, where his guts are removed and Ennard uses his body as a disguise. While Michael returns home, his corpse rots and turns purple. Eventually, Ennard exits. Michael, infused with Remnant, regains control of his body, effectively immortalized, less a man now than a walking consequence. By 2023, the franchise attempts a cleansing fire. Michael becomes the security guard at Fazbear's Fright, a horror attraction built from relics of the brand's crimes, hoping to find William and exact revenge. He burns the attraction down with Spring Bonnie inside. Then Henry and Michael collaborate to gather the remaining animatronics into an underground facility and incinerate them alongside the Remnant. Henry's final aim is clear: free the spirits, grant Charlotte peace, and let the missing children move on. Charlotte, who once gave them a path to eternal mechanical imprisonment, now helps deliver them to rest. For a brief moment, FNAF lets you believe the nightmare might be finally done, but the franchise is allergic to clean endings.
My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
In 2029, the Mimic resurfaces in viral form as Glitchtrap, possessing circuitry while copying William Afton's identity like a phantom wearing a stolen face. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex opens as the brand's glossy, modern reinvention. Glitchtrap attaches to the mind of Vanessa, who's a security guard, producing Vanny, a rabbit mascot servant forced into the Mimic's agenda. The glam rock animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Roxanne Wolf, and Montgomery Gator, become the new bright icons of a future already infected with the same old evil. By 2031's security breach, the young Gregory is trapped inside the Pizzaplex and teams up with glam rock Freddy to escape. They use parts of the other glam rocks to upgrade Freddy and eventually free Vanny from Glitchtrap's control. The Pizzaplex is officially destroyed by an earthquake, though the truth is more damning. Much of the complex's power was being used to sustain Burntrap, the physical form of the Mimic. Gregory and Freddy set the Pizzaplex ablaze to stop Burntrap from escaping, yet even this is not a full exorcism. The animatronics survive in the wreckage, and Cassie, the protagonist, is lured back by the Mimic using Gregory's voice. Burntrap uses old mascot costumes resembling Fallfest characters, tying the newest horror back to the earliest imagery, as if the franchise is mocking the idea that you can never truly outrun your origin. When the security program Mexus is shut down, Mimic 1 is freed again. Cassie's only path of escape is cut off by Gregory to prevent the Mimic from escaping alongside her.
You were never supposed to go to the Pizzaplex. That thing in the sinkhole tricked you. I really don't know what it is, but it's been trapped down here a really long time. The Mexus security program was designed to keep it hidden, but you shut down the security, and now it's free. It's not your fault. I know you did it for me, to save me, but we can't risk being followed. I'm sorry.
Gregory? No!
This leaves us with the core message. FNAF isn't just a sequence of haunted events, it's a recurring cycle of grief weaponized into technology, technology weaponized into murder, and murder laundered into corporate rebirth. The monsters matter, sure, but the horror is that Fazbear Entertainment keeps rebuilding the stage despite the repeated atrocities.
A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you, Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 begins with a prologue set in 1982 Minnesota. Young Charlotte Emily, daughter of Henry, one of the company's founders, is at a birthday party in the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, waiting by the stairs for the marionette to emerge. The background arcade cabinets are filled with Easter eggs. Kids are seen playing real games from the FNAF expanded universe, like Pop Goes Adventure and Five Nights at Candy's. These references canonize fan-made content into the movie's universe, something unheard of in game adaptations. Charlotte's brief interaction with Vanessa Afton, daughter of the other founder William, is cut short when Charlotte witnesses something sinister. William, clad in his spring Bonnie suit, abducting a boy in plain sight. Unfortunately, the adults dismiss her plea, so Charlotte trails him into the restaurant's back rooms, where she discovers the boy unconscious and catches a glimpse of William washing utensils. Using the moment to act, she rescues the boy, but her heroism is short-lived, with William stabbing her in the back. Still, she drags herself and the boy back on stage in front of the stunned guests, where she screams for help before succumbing to her wounds. This version of Charlotte is not a background victim. She's a proactive kid. Her death is the moral cornerstone of the entire sequel. Everything she becomes later is tied directly to this betrayal and the adults who didn't listen to her. The trapdoor beneath the stage opens, swallowing her body. From the shadows, the marionette finally arrives. Too late to save her, but not too late to carry her into the abyss. The incident sparks investigations and media scrutiny, but the authorities find no culprit. 2 decades later, Freddy's has become the stuff of haunted legend. In the present day, Vanessa wakes up to a call from Michael Schmidt, where they talk about an upcoming dinner, something Abby teasingly calls a date. Mike is still a traumatized older brother, trying to keep Abby safe, even while she keeps getting pulled toward friends who exist on the wrong side of life and death. Abby, meanwhile, is lonely, emotionally bonded to the animatronics, and wanting companionship with the only children that were kind to her.
How's Abby? Some days she's good, some days she misses her friends.
When Abby hops on the school bus, Mike begins painting the house with his friend Jeremiah, who scoffs at the idea of dinner with Vanessa and warns Mike about the shadow of Fazbear's history. Jeremiah operates as the grounded, skeptical support system in Mike's orbit and functions as the normal life Mike is trying to cling to. But Abby is doing the opposite. On the bus, she recounts her experience at the pizzeria to a few children who were blown away by the story. At school, the foul-mannered robotics teacher Mr. Berg pressures his students to finish their science fair projects by Saturday, the same day as Fazfest, a celebration of the pizzeria's legacy. He warns them that failure to attend will mean failing grades, especially for those not towing the line. He spots Abby working on a small robotic chica, and in a petty power move, crosses her name off the participation list, crushing her hopes of competing. Mr. Berg is the film's everyday villain, not supernatural, but cruel in a way that tragically mirrors the adult negligence that got Charlotte killed. Yet one student, noticing Abby's skill, nudges her in a more fateful direction. If she can build animatronics this good, maybe she can repair the real ones herself. This passing suggestion isn't just foreshadowing, it's the ignition point for the story.
This story that you're gonna fix those animatronics, it's only giving her false hope.
Abby, still reeling from her inability to connect with the world, returns home only to be met by a distracted Mike, who's preparing for his dinner with Vanessa. In a moment of sibling tenderness, he asks Abby to help him with his tie, underscoring how desperately he's trying to appear like a capable guardian. Abby then floats a request to visit her animatronic friends. Mike, attempting to draw boundaries for her sake, gently refuses. He promises he'll repair them soon, but urges her to find real human connections instead. Unfortunately, Abby's desperate need to reconnect becomes the domino that topples everything. Alone and frustrated, she turns to a late-night horror TV show called Spectral Scoopers, featuring hosts Rob, Lisa, and Alex, a clear meta-nod to the ghost hunting craze and YouTube-era paranormal influences. It's a show meant to entertain, but it becomes an omen of what's to come. At the restaurant, Vanessa and Mike's dinner is tinged with vulnerability. Vanessa opens up about taking fitness classes as a coping mechanism, a physical attempt to reclaim control over a life dominated by trauma. Mike, for his part, admits he has no idea how to manage Abby's grief, let alone her attachment to the robots. The dinner ends quietly, but it's what Mike finds upon returning home that pulls the story into its next descent. Abby is gone and left a note, and true to her words, she's returned to Freddy's. Unfortunately, she's about to become the emotional prize and the tactical leverage in a revenge plan. Mike rushes to the pizzeria and finds her sitting in front of the stage. He tells Abby that while her friends may no longer exist in the physical sense, they still live inside of her. Here we get the toy Freddy scene, which plays double duty. It lets Mike bond with Abby at the prize counter, another game location that's recreated, and offers a stuffed Fredbear plushie that hums the Torito March. Not just any jingle, but the same death screen tune from the original game, and the same melody that William Afton whistles. Ultimately, Abby's told she's allowed to pick a keepsake from the diner and chooses the Faz Talker.
Can any of you hear me?
Abby.
As they leave, Mike spots and pockets a boycott poster plastered alongside ads for the upcoming Fazfest. It's an angry voice among the glittering nostalgia, warning against a commercial resurrection of a place built on tragedy. Elsewhere, the Spectral Scoopers, Rob, Lisa, and Alex prepare for the next episode. Hoping to reverse their dwindling viewership, they accept an invitation to film at the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Their van license plate reads "I See Dead Key," a cheeky Sixth Sense homage. Upon arrival, they are greeted by a strange night guard who introduces himself as Michael, a red flag for longtime fans and anyone who watched the introduction to this video. He's all too eager to play host, drawing open the stage curtain to reveal Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica still shrouded in tarps like relics at a cursed museum.
Some little girl got murdered here. Do you guys hear that?
Lisa asks about Foxy, only to be told he was an experimental attraction that failed due to his disassemblable nature. Michael smirks while describing Foxy's dismemberment as a failed attraction.
Kids can be so heartless.
He says, a grim nod to FNAF World's infamous "Kids Can Be So Cruel" loading screen. When Lisa begins to hear eerie music, she follows the tune, while Michael leads Alex to Kids Cove and Rob meanders in the dark waters of a boat ride tunnel. Because nothing bad ever happens when a group split up in a horror movie. Rob notices an odd flickering bulb, which explodes, sending him crashing into the water. Lisa descends into the belly of the building and finds a music box sitting beside an oversized gift box beneath the stage. She stops the music, leans in, and the lid opens by itself. From the darkness inside emerges a marionette, which attacks her. But this is no mere animatronic. It's the embodiment of vengeance and loss. Alex hears the screams and rushes to help, only to be ambushed and dragged away and killed by Foxy, while Rob, hearing more splashing, turns around just in time to see dozens of mini marionette dolls emerging from the water that begin to tear him apart. Downstairs, Michael finds Lisa mid-possession. The marionette, we learn, is possessed by Charlotte. Charlotte's spirit, once innocent, now acts through others. The transformation scene as Lisa succumbs to the marionette's will is horrific, but tinged with sadness. The spirit is not evil, it's broken. Charlotte isn't merely killing, she's reenacting the moment she was ignored, forcing adults to finally acknowledge consequences. And as Lisa, now fully possessed, charges at Michael, he flees the building. The emotional tempo rises as it weaves together two fragile psychological arcs, Abby's aching nostalgia for her companions and Vanessa's unraveling grip on reality. As the day begins, Abby attempts to return to normality by focusing on her science project for school, but the empty silence, once filled with the presence of her animatronic friends, proves too much to bear. Her heart isn't in robotics, it's back at Freddy's, and Mike, watching his sister drift further into that haunting attachment, is powerless to help.
So you wanna tell me about your bad dreams?
Vanessa, meanwhile, is undergoing a harrowing psychic reckoning. Her workout class is interrupted by a vision of her father, William. She flees to the locker room and, in a panicked state, mistakes the patron for her father and even draws her firearm on him. The implication is immediate and terrifying. Vanessa is becoming untethered from what's real and what isn't. Determined to confront her past, she returns home and begins to close herself off from the outside world, physically shutting the windows and figuratively shutting out anything that might threaten her mental cocoon. She then gathers her father's belongings from a box and, in her mind, begins to challenge William's hold on her. I need to note that we get the reveal of the infamous lockbox from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Long considered one of the franchise's biggest mysteries, the box was never opened, accompanied by the message, "Some things are best left forgotten." Here it finally opens and contains a notebook, a mirror, marbles and a toy plane, trophies from the children that William murdered. It's a chilling reveal that retroactively reshapes the entire mythos. In a harrowing hallucination, William chases her. As she tries to escape, he blocks her path, whispering that she'll always be his favorite. Vanessa then flees upstairs, reliving a memory where her younger self watches William disappear into his workshop.
My father was a monster. You know that.
While hiding, she notices an animatronic with glowing eyes that silently turns to look at her. Vanessa's dream opens the door to Circus Baby, an animatronic linked to Elizabeth Afton's death and possession in sister location. Though she appears for mere seconds, her inclusion suggests a deeper motive for William's child-stuffing spree, the twisted attempt to replicate a possession event. This feels like the missing narrative link to William's motives in both timelines. Back in the hallway, Vanessa, now in her police uniform, confronts William and fires her gun at him. The confrontation is symbolic, sure, but it also marks a pivotal psychological shift. She may never be free of his legacy, but she's doing her best to fight back. That same night, Abby receives a message from Chica, asking for help in giving her the address of the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and so Abby sneaks out of the house. There she finds Chica waiting. In her eyes, this isn't just a robot, it's a surrogate friend, a guardian, a constant in the wake of everything else falling apart. While Chica does help her finish her science project, there's actually something nefarious happening here. The next morning, Vanessa drops by Mike's house and is surprised to see a Faz talker. Abby, buzzing with excitement, startles Vanessa and proudly displays her completed science project. She explains how she finished it with the help of her animatronic friends, but Vanessa's smile quickly fades. The moment Abby mentions the original Freddy's location, Vanessa's expression darkens. Vanessa tries to warn Mike, but he brushes it off. He is, after all, clinging to what little control he has. Then he casually reveals something that stuns her. He found Charlotte's name and story after calling a number on the poster he found. That number belonged to Charlotte's father, Henry, and this admission catches Vanessa completely off guard, who realizes the noose is tightening around them. But instead of taking her warning seriously, Mike assumes Vanessa is just shaken by the memory of her father. His tone is dismissive, which only drives a wedge further between them. She's unraveling, he's unaware, and Abby is slipping deeper into a relationship with entities that shouldn't be walking, talking, or helping anyone with homework. On the day of the science fair, Mike drops Abby off at school and, driven by curiosity, heads to the home of Henry Emily, co-founder of the Freddy Fazbear franchise. What begins as a seemingly polite visit shifts into an unsettling confession. Henry reveals he's the architect behind the citywide boycott campaign against Fazbear Entertainment, and for good reason. His daughter Charlotte is dead, and he believes her death wasn't an accident. Meanwhile, Vanessa heads back to the ruins of the original Freddy's. There she discovers the music box. Charlotte's tethered to peace has been stopped. The implication is that without the lullaby, Charlotte's spirit is no longer dormant. She's awake and very much aware. Vanessa manages to contact her, pleading for reason, connection, and trust, but Charlotte's pain eclipses empathy, and she attacks her. A line spoken by Charlotte to Vanessa is lifted from Ultimate Custom Night, where the puppet hisses the same warning.
I don't hate you, but you need to stay out of my way.
At the same time, Mr. Berg, the science fair villain, takes it upon himself to destroy Abby's project to disqualify her. The result is heartbreak. Crushed and discouraged, Abby bikes straight to the dilapidated remains of Freddy's, where Chica, possessed by Charlotte, welcomes her back. When Mike makes a phone call to Abby's school, he discovers she's missing. To add another emotional landmine to the moment, Henry hands him Charlotte's music box, the one that helped her sleep. Here the story takes a particularly grim twist. Charlotte offers Abby a deal. Chica can become a new science project, a guaranteed showstopper, if and only if Abby helps them escape. Freedom in this case is digital. The animatronics are bound to Freddy's by a system restriction, one that can only be overridden by a password. With Vanessa captured and Chica threatening Abby, the stakes are high enough to force Vanessa's hand. She gives up the password to protect the child. Abby enters it, and just like that, the gates are open. Charlotte and her metal friends are no longer confined. The haunting has gone mobile, and like a proud inventor showing off her project, Abby brings Chica to the science fair. The toy animatronics get their fan service moments, with Toy Chica's infamous beakless jump scare recreated. As Abby hitches a ride with YouTuber Corey Kenshin back again as a cab driver, he catches a glimpse of Toy Chica's unsettling appearance in the mirror, only to have her beak casually handed to her by Abby. Meanwhile, Mike decides to investigate the original Freddy's himself. He enters into a back room and finds the prototype animatronics, but doesn't spot the decomposing body of Lisa. When he rescues Vanessa, she reveals that Charlotte isn't just angry, she's exacting revenge, and her victims are adults and parents who ignored her plea for help. With little time left, they race to the control center, dodging Balloon Boy along the way, and arrive at the security office. Mike scrambles to reactivate the system restriction that would cut off the animatronic's newfound freedom. Vanessa, meanwhile, tries to find Abby, unaware that she herself is in danger. One of the biggest blink and you'll miss it nods occurs during Mike's showdown with the toy animatronics. In a single flashlight flicker, we glimpse Shadow Bonnie, the elusive shadowy variant of Toy Bonnie. Back at the science fair, Chica is a crowd favorite, until Mr. Berg declares she's just a person inside a suit, refusing to see the glowing red eyes and twitching servos. For his arrogance, he's given a fitting end. Chica chases him down and kills him. In a twisted bit of irony, Abby wins the science fair for some reason, despite not having built Chica herself. No one also seems to question why her project is Chica, an animatronic that everyone is aware of. So aware of that there's a freaking festival called Fazfest being held about her and her friends on the other side of town. But Charlotte isn't finished. She awakens the other animatronics who infiltrate the festival crowd at Fazfest, ready to unleash hell. Foxy also attacks Vanessa mid-drive, launching a sudden vehicular assault, while Freddy and Bonnie ominously wander suburbia, looking for the parents that refuse to help Charlotte as a child. As Freddy looms over an unsuspecting couple, Vanessa's intervention halts the carnage, slamming her brakes so hard that Foxy is hurled through a window and into Freddy. Meanwhile, Mike begins to wear the broken mask of Freddy Fazbear to fool the animatronics about to attack him into thinking he was one of them, a neat reference to the FNAF 2 game. Doing this, he's able to successfully cut the signal controlling the animatronics, disabling them all except Chica, who's carried Abby from school to her bed. As she begins to break down, her mechanical chest cracks open to reveal the marionette, who leaps out and possesses Abby in a desperate bid to restore the control signal and reactivate her robotic kin. Vanessa races to Mike's house, but her car stalls out. In the biggest contrivance, Mike's friend Jeremiah appears and offers her a ride. As they make their way over, Mike calls upon the spirits of the dead children in his old workplace and pleads for help. Over at the Schmidt home, Vanessa encounters the possessed Abby, and as she tries to talk her down, Mike arrives just in time with Charlotte's music box. Luckily, the soothing lullaby is enough to quell the spirit's rage and release Abby. It's here that Michael, Vanessa's estranged brother, reveals himself as the inheritor of William Afton's twisted legacy. But in a cathartic reversal, the ghosts of the murdered children, still bound to their own animatronic vessels, turn on Michael's forces and dismantle them. Michael tries to flee, but Jeremiah knocks him out. With the corrupted animatronics deactivated and the souls of the children freed, one of them shares a poignant farewell to Mike and Abby. Their urge to keep living, to embrace life rather than dwell in the trauma of the past. But there's a final twist. By helping the spirits pass on, William Afton's soul has been released. The boogeyman, it seems, will rise again. As Mike, Abby, and Jeremiah depart, Mike warns Vanessa to keep her distance, only for Charlotte to sneak up and possess her when he leaves, setting up a sequel. And in true franchise fashion, the mid-credit stinger teases the next nightmare. Scavengers raid the abandoned pizzeria, uncovering a sealed room containing a yellow rabbit suit. Afton's remains in the spring Bonnie suit stir to life as a glowing red eye flickers on. Then a recorded message from Henry to Mike confirms what we already knew. Henry and Afton created the animatronics together, but the message is cut short by unseen violence. Marionette has found him too. The post-credits message from Henry Emily reintroduces Henry's cassette man persona from Pizzeria Simulator. Heard only via tape in the game, here he reclaims the moniker through the most analog horror device of them all, a dying message on tape. While definitely a disappointing sequel that never rises to the brilliance of the first movie, FNAF 2 doubles down on the franchise's core themes: grief, guilt, legacy, and the tragic consequences of ignoring the cries of the vulnerable, while setting the stage for yet another chapter in this haunted mechanical odyssey.